Newsfirst, Newsline.
Hello there, very good evening. Welcome to another edition of Newsline, coming to you, of course, live and direct, as always, from the Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. During the past few days here on Newsline, we covered extensively the issue surrounding the Express Pearl. But today, we bring to you a new revelation. Well, this is, of course, a little bit of a technical subject. Some of our viewers might find it a little bit hard to understand. So because of that, we got on our show this evening a person who is the chairman of the National Intellectuals Federation and also a lecturer at the Sri Jayawardhanapura University, Dr. Anil Jayantha, no stranger to our network. A very good evening, doctor, and welcome to the show.
Good evening.
Doctor, so we really didn't reveal to the general public what we are going to discuss on our show here today. This is the Selendiva. That's the name that has come about, and this name popped up in the cabinet paper, and also it has established a special purpose. It has been established as a special purpose vehicle for certain strategic undertakings of the government as far as the possession of land, the lease of land, private-public partnerships goes. Dr. Anil Jayantha, could you really give an introduction to the general public who maybe might be even hearing this word or this special purpose vehicle name, Selendiva, for the first time? What is Selendiva?
Okay, thank you. Actually, Selendiva is a state-owned entity, solely owned by the Treasury, 100%. So that is why they say that, so nothing to worry. So there is a fear among the general public. No, don't worry, because this is a state-owned company under the Treasury. But this specific purpose vehicle, what they call so-called specific vehicle, is another company called Hospitality Holding Company that is created or incorporated according to the Companies Act by merging 3 properties in Sri Lanka. But these properties also belong to the government. Number one is
the Urban Development Authority.
Not urban development. So that is another story, because lots of complications are there in this story. We will
solve them out one by one.
One by one.
Right.
So the first one, with reference to Selendiva, Selendiva is, so within its purview, these 3 properties are first set. So number one is the Carnville Holding, which is owned by again state-owned entities, Sri Lanka Insurance, Litro Gas, and EPF, so likewise. And the other one is the Colombo Hilton, that is also 100% owned by Treasury. And the other one is the Colombo Hotel, that is so that is Grand Oriental Hotel.
Right.
These 3 properties are first brought under the purview of this Selendiva, which has been already incorporated. But in order to deal with the properties that these 3 entities have, these 3 entities are merged. That is a finance term, or that is used. Merge and finish. So you kill these 3 companies now, create another one that is called Hospitality Holding Company. That is what they refer as specific purpose vehicle. So these jargons are also used to actually mislead and deceive the general public, because when you hear specific purpose, okay, something good. What is good? We are going to create value for the society. No, this specific purpose is nothing but simply to sell and lease the properties owned by state. That means the property is owned by general public. So you guys, so that is the initial setup. Why it was not taken up to this public debate and discourses until now, because this Selendiva was incorporated in 2020, July 2020. Now, why do we take it up? Because by that time, so this particular, there were no attempts to form specific purpose vehicle by that time. By that time, only the Selendiva. Selendiva is 100% Treasury, government-owned company. Now, in this specific purpose vehicle company, we do not know who owns promoter shares. Promoters, because there are people called promoters
who promote the company.
Yeah, promote the company. Then the skepticism, like we need to be a little bit skeptical. Why? Only 10%, or it says in the cabinet paper, it says that at least 10% of the promoters' shares should go to Treasury. It is not clear who owns the 90% of the promoter shares. We do not know. In addition, according to the value which is going to be independently valued by the government agencies, that would be all right. Values of all those three companies I mentioned earlier, they have properties of course. Then on pro rata basis, shares of SPV, so I'll use that word SPV, will be issued to these three companies. So then their plan is, so some part of those shares, now promoter shares are there, shares issued to these three companies are there, out of which some shares will be listed on Colombo Stock Exchange. That plan is also there. Eventually, so they are trying to show us and tell us that this is something very big investment where everybody can participate, even including general public can participate, and that is good. So finally what happens, as far as the government is concerned, what is the benefit that would accrue or that would come to the general public? It's not clear. They will get only the lease rentals, not that's all, nothing else. But opportunity would be finally given to the private sector, maybe their very close aides, those who have contacts with the government, and those few would get the benefit. So that is the danger of this thing. But still, government has a responsibility of coming forward and explaining or revealing this information to the general public, how they are going to create value. Otherwise, so with the experience that we have just over maybe almost 1.5 years time, so government practices, what we are experiencing all the time, lots of problems and issues, suspicions are there. And then, so we have a very reasonable reason to suspect and ask the government what are going to do with this thing. So good example is, take the example of Water's Edge. So then under this specific purpose entity, 3 investment portfolios are again made. 3 companies are there, they are merged. Then one company is formed. Within this one company, 3 portfolios are brought. Number 1 portfolio is called Heritage Square Portfolio. So nice words, right? So these terminologies are really used to.
And it's a very complicated.
Very complicated. I would like to refer to the Water's Edge case. So there is second portfolio consists of several properties, including Water's Edge. Water's Edge has a land extent of roughly around 5 acres. Just recall that which was owned by a private sector by that time. Then because of the litigation processes, and people were able to prove that, so that acquisition was detrimental to the general public. So that is why the verdict was given to acquire it by the state. Now it has become a state property. So valuable property. Not only that, land area. So you know that during even the same, this government prior to 2015 did lots of developments surrounded by Water's Edge. Now this property is going to be, is set for resale. What is the logic? On one hand, profitable, most valuable, the properties are going to be sold on one hand. On the other hand, the additional fact I am just bringing it up, so not referring to this particular cabinet paper. So another proposal is there to acquire loss-making laugh gas company as well, 40% of this. So I do not understand this logic. So if government wants to really have a strategic investment plan, it should be within one umbrella and just show us how benefits are accruing and general public would get them. Otherwise, these suspicions are there, and not only suspicions, finally, for sure, only very handful, they have connection, because they are not in the scene. Behind the screen, you do not see. All the time we see politicians and media, whoever comes and just makes 101 the statements, but the real culprits are behind the screen. So they'll get the real benefit.
So when we speak about this SPV and Selendiva, has a similar mechanism being implemented in Sri Lanka before, in any other country before, as far as you know?
Actually, I do not have any information with respect to this kind of mechanism which has been established in Sri Lanka before, like specific purpose vehicles. But of course, this is a term, of course, companies can be created to achieve a specific purpose. And there are goods and bads as well with respect to specific purpose entities or vehicles. So good side of a specific purpose vehicle is, you need to very clearly specify what is the specific purpose that is going to be achieved. So what is the benefit and who gets the benefit? All those things should be clearly mentioned. But here it is not clearly mentioned. That is why we question. Lots of doubts are there. So, but anyway, if the any government wants to do something good for the nation, you can use specific purpose vehicles or entities. But the bad part is these entities are formed or incorporated in, under the Companies Act as a company. That's a legal person. If you want, you can use it for bad purposes as well. How? They can be a shell company. You are there to transfer wealth, support, and take the public property out of the public pockets and give it to the private sector. So why I am saying this thing, for example, when you steal something, for example, if I try to snatch your wallet, it is very apparent and you would react quickly because you know that I am going to take it or I have taken it. But if you create a public entity like this, a specific purpose vehicle is a public entity, the public entity means it has wealth belongs to the nation. Then it is easy for you to appropriate wealth from that company and put it into the private pockets. Then no one knows. General public doesn't know because it doesn't go from directly. It doesn't go from your the pocket. You do not see it. That is the bad part of the situation, because this is like a double-edged sword. Could be used for good, could be used for bad. But in Sri Lankan context, it is very evident with our past experience. Most of these things have been used for bad and to pass benefits for very few. That is the danger.
Well, you said that this special purpose vehicle could be used for to privatize or lease out, create private-public partnerships.
Yes.
As far as these lands are concerned, there has always been this debate in Sri Lanka about liberalizing the economy or nationalizing the economy, private sector or everything run by the state sector. Where do you stand on this line?
Okay, it's a good question. Actually, when it comes to privatization, marketization, commodification and all those things, so actually in any economy, irrespective of different economic policies or ideologies, actually we need a very efficient market to deal with commodities, goods and services that you really want. For that purposes, so there is no problem, nothing wrong if you go with private sector, public-private partnerships or any other thing, because finally, so that would really create value to the country or to the society. But if you use these things, or the market mechanism or commodification and all those things to deal with something that belongs to the general public, by and large, it is a little bit dangerous. Because here, Heritage Square, it is not only a property, it has some other value. There are certain things. Land does not mean that we have a commercial value. It goes beyond to that value. So your heritage is also there. So that is the problem, because from National Intellectuals Organization point of view, that is where we really contradict with the government policies. So they try to commodify all those things for the benefit of few, not for the benefit of general public. So if you go for it, no problem if the government can, if they want, can go for PPP. Even now, actually, there are 4 public, private and people's partnership. So here people's, the participant is not seen in Sri Lankan context, whatever it is. So PPP can be used as long as some parts of benefits are at least shown to us, then that would really accrue to the general public. Here, we don't see. Just imagine, Sharlan, so by leasing out a property, what is the strategic investment? Strategic investment should deal with kind of technology that we are lacking as of now. Strategic investment should be dealing with something that to produce or manufacture something that we want. So the harsh thing in this one of the second cabinet paper, that is cabinet paper number 9, it deals with the shifting of the Valikada prison to Samya Horana area, Megalava. So in Megalava land, which had been originally planned to implement a kind of industrial zone. In a way, there could be some the problems in that, but whatever it is, that was an industrial zone. That was the plan. Now, under this particular plan, even the name is changed. That industrial zone is named, that name is changed to be Urban Development Project. So totally what they are going to do is not to do with anything strategic investment, but to simply sell land, lease and selling lands. So then to do this thing, you need not to have these nice words and complex structures. So it is complex structures are used, nice words are used to deceive general public, because this shouldn't be the responsibility or accountable government. And one thing I would like to call, like, so this happens in a kind of structure what would I like to call as a kleptocracy. Kleptocracy is ruling by thieves now, ruling by thieves with the support of others. So this kleptocracy is supported by so-called big companies and some officials. So otherwise, how come these nice terms are brought up? So these complex share issuances and connected everything, because general public, so laymen do not understand what is it. So when someone appears on a television or any other news media and says that, so this is this, so they do not understand. So finally what happens, through this specific purpose vehicle, value of the nation would be transferred to ultimate shareholder. That is why government has a responsibility to reveal who are the promoters of this company. So then some part of these issues can be cleared. So that's not discussed.
Dr. Anil, we'll cross over to a short commercial break and continue our discussion. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Newsline live.
Newsfirst, Newsline.
Welcome back. You're watching Newsline Live. Dr. Anil, getting back to our conversation, you were speaking about the establishment of complex structures, and one of the end games in this, you said, was to allow for private leasing of these companies to private entities, and also investment of these entities in the stock market. Now, when it comes to the stock market and government's investments in the stock markets, we have some bad experiences as far as the EPF, the ETF, those kind of funds go, the people's money again. With these complex structures being put in place, is there any sort of risk of maybe the EPF, the ETF going and investing in these entities, as you might call them, and then, you know, suffering losses? Is that a possibility?
Actually, Sharlan, there is a great risk, not because that it's because of its structure, but mainly because of these opportunistic the politicians and other people's interest. I'll just explain this. If you recall about this forensic audit report, in the forensic audit report, it's very clearly stated with facts, evidence, how government officials by that time, including the governor of the central bank, influenced the officials of the investment, the board of EPF, to invest in these loss-making companies and invest money in shares, so as their directions. So later on, you acquire shares at very high price, and later on instructed to sell at a lower price when the price goes down. So pump and dump technique was used. So that is the risk. It does not mean that EPF or any other huge fund does not have a capacity to earn money. So they can earn money, because I know very well that EPF has lots of competent people who have adequate knowledge about finance. They are competent enough, but within this particular structure they could be influenced, and so that is the risk. So in future, once these properties are brought, I mean the shares are sold in the stock market, of course not only with respect to these companies, and regulations may be further liberalized, allowing EPF and other funds to invest. So remember, in 2020, budget proposal was also brought up with respect to formation of REITs, that is Real Estate Investment Trust. It is nothing but so investment trust companies. There could be a connection with those proposal with this proposal as well. We never know. So the risk is, as you ask, of course, in addition to these specific purpose vehicle, so funds like EPF, ETF, or maybe insurance, because insurance corporation is already a shareholder of this Carnville Holding Private Limited, actually Carnville Holding Private Limited. Those things have been stated in this the specific forensic audit report as well. The risk is nothing but the swindling of funds that belongs to the general public to the hands of few. So that is the danger. Because the problem is, why I am saying danger, so there wouldn't be any accountability issues. Even with respect to Carnville Holding Private Limited, there are cases which have the audit, queries which have been raised in 2017 with respect to their conduct misappropriation of funds, and so many things. So who is accountable? So no one. So no one is talking about. Once that is brought up, this company and a specific purpose vehicle, so history can be easily really dig out and
Dr. Anil, leaving space for some questions from our viewers. There is a question that has come in. If the SPV is registered under the Companies Act, are the details of the promoters not information available to the general public?
Sorry?
The details of the promoters, if it is listed under the Companies Act, are the details of the promoters available to the general public?
No, later on. As of now, we do not know. So once it is listed, of course, so all like the shareholders' information would be revealed to the general public, no problem. By that time, we will come to know who are they. And as of now, most like known shareholders of this specific the purpose vehicle will be Treasury, that is at least 10%, and these three companies, just I mentioned that the Carnville, Hilton, and the Grand Oriental. So they are. But indirect shareholders would be, as of now, there are shareholders of these three companies. They would be the ultimate shareholders. So, of course, it's right. So that view is correct. Finally, shareholders should be revealed.
Dr. Anil, now there are countries in this world that has moved towards privatization of state-owned enterprises and been successful in dealing with their economies or growing their economies. In Sri Lanka, when we take certain private entities, previous state and private-public partnerships that were and private-owned companies that were taken under the state, we see a lot of these companies have gone bankrupt. So when this government they came on a promise of nationalizing assets that were already sold off, but there is a bit of a disparity between what they promised and what they're doing. When the government came into power, they promised free fertilizer for all farmers, but now there is no fertilizer to give. So besides the disparity in the government's promises, do you actually see a downside in leasing off these lands in a certain way? Just for argument's sake.
Yeah, in a way, yes. So it's like this. So if you just take an individual incident or item, so you may say different things. But if you take the situation like, so being a government, the main agency of a government is to protect the public interest. Actually, if you do something, either privatize or even acquire with that interest, that's all right. But these incidents, the failure of privatization, failure of acquisitions, show us that so these things have been done not according to a comprehensive economic development plan, but according to hidden agendas or private interests plan. So that is bad. That is the bad part of this story. But unfortunately, they are not accountable. Even general public does not question. So that is the problem. So with this experience, we do not have any, kind of environment to see that things have been rectified for us to see, okay, government is heading towards a very plan, the situation or with a strategic plan. So that is the danger.
So you don't see a strategic plan in this establishment of
No, strategic plan in the sense as they use this because strategy is also a vague term. So that is why they use strategic investment. Strategy is for who, for what? Actually, there are strategies for them, not for the general public.
This is not for the benefit of the general public.
No.
Well, Doctor, I believe we need to continue our discussion for a longer period of time, of course, if the general public are to quite rightly understand what these special investment vehicles are, what really is Selendiva. But of course, if you continue to stay tuned to News First, we will bring to you information on this story and much more. But that's it for today from Newsline Live. Take care and God bless.